It's live. Well, aloha. I am the draft specialist, and we are back for another edition of Brews Buds, our first inaugural, if you will, ladies edition. We have my lovely wife, and then her very good friend Melissa,
Hi.
savvy beer drinker, and a new beer drinker. So we're going to get some really, really good profiles from a lot of good beers, I hope. Want to give a quick shout out to Upside. Hope they did a great job last night for their festival. They had their second year anniversary on Thursday, so congratulations. And we are featuring one of their beers first. We'll do another one shortly with another Brews and Buds. And we've got a lot of breweries tonight, this afternoon. It just feels like night, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Officially fall in Southeast Michigan. And with that, any other shout outs we need first?
I don't think so.
We'll get there, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So, without further ado, this is their baklava brown. Baklava is one of my all-time favorite desserts, and it's pretty amazing, actually. It is a dessert beer, so I hope it doesn't beat up our palate too much for the rest of the beers.
Have you had this?
I sipped it yesterday, so...
You have not?
I have not.
Okay,
I always like to try a beer that I've never had before, so.
I'm just going to do a little sip, but I'll let y'all have a little sip too. It is... The one thing I can say about this without even taking a sip right now is that it's much closer to a porter than it is a brown, in my opinion. 6.2%, so it's definitely a good, hefty brown.
Definitely smells sweet. It smells kind of like brown sugar.
Mm-hmm. They do add more brown sugar to the batch to pronounce that ABV and add a little more sweetness than kind of baked goods. And more walnuts. I get a good nuttiness from it and a really good like dried fruit, almost like raisin bread.
Yeah.
Raisin bread I think is really close. I love baklava, so I mean it's just a super dense, great dessert, and they turned it into a dessert beer. But I mean, without further ado, it's very heavy.
Wow,
It's very heavy, but it's so sweet.
It is very sweet. It is a sipper.
Yeah.
But it's surprisingly dry.
I would definitely have one. I don't think I would have more than one. It's too sweet for that, but
It's a nightcap kind of drink.
Mm-hmm.
it pretty much tastes just like it smells.
I believe they're using a really high level crystal malt to achieve that like extra sweetness from the fruit. There's a little bit of spice, like a cassia or cinnamon spice on the tongue. I think like something has a real dry spiciness to it. I feel like I get that on the tongue. This is a complex beer. I've been saying that a lot recently.
People are getting more complex, I think, on purpose.
It's very good. Their setup is awesome. They're getting new fermenters and brights to do more things. So hopefully we'll get to do a tour then, get a live interview. So thank you, Upside. We'll feature your other one here shortly in another video, but I like this one a lot.
This is delicious.
Yeah, it's good.
And they still serve awesome pies. So if you're a pizza fan, I highly, highly recommend checking them out.
Oh,
It's been family owned.
It's in Sylvania?
It is in Sylvania, downtown Sylvania. Family owned since '79.
It's actually listed on the Facebook page as a pizza place, not a brewery.
Yeah, it's
I guess they might have converted, recently. But.
absolutely. And he's got a really unique setup there, so I'm excited to kind of give him more exposure. But I hope the festival went well last night. Congratulations again.
We also can't see if you're commenting because we're way over here, and I'm usually back there.
So apologize that we can't return the comments, the hellos and whatnots, but we do appreciate it nevertheless. All right.
That was a good start.
Yeah, I wanted to give them a shout out first. Plus, it's a crowler, so
I think that would
have
be
it
good
as fresh as
for
possible.
like browns are usually good for people that like new to beer because they're not real. They don't. They're. I guess they don't kick in any one area.
Sure, malt
Kinda
is
even.
like the dominant. That one's yours.
Yeah, that's good. I'm not that better, so I don't really care.
Did I already rinse yours now? I don't
Unless
know.
you're afraid of my germs.
No, I'm not. I trust you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Brown's a great start, especially if you're not. Most people aren't big hops fans immediately, and if you are, that's weird and awesome all at the same time.
It's totally
So, yeah, browns and ambers are usually ales, what I usually point them at. They're less intrusive, maltier, sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more acceptable on the palate.
So you were saying before we started that you got started with stouts and porters, and I feel like that's where I've started too. I think Guinness was like my start, basically. But I actually
Guinness is
started.
not my favorite.
No, I know. And I mean, well, I actually still like it, but it's not my favorite now. But it was definitely more drinkable to me than like Budweiser or something like
Mhm.
that. You know, which I feel like is the other entry side, like lagers.
Yeah.
And well, I actually started with half Guinness, half cherry wheat. That was my drink, but
Yeah.
makes it a little easier.
A black cherry.
Yeah.
Because they're fruity. People, it's easier to kind of acclimate to. And like you
Mhm.
said, it doesn't
Yeah.
have like that happy like pow.
And it tastes anything like all the beers I had when I was like college age.
Well, I have done a little research, but not to say this research is real. It doesn't come from any established facility or anything like that. But I did read from some beer blogs, especially, that most females prefer stouts and porters because of the pronounced, like deep, rich flavors of either coffee or chocolate.
Coffee. Yeah.
Chocolate,
That's how they got me. That's how they got me.
From what I understand, females have their mapping for chocolate is like 30 times greater than what a male can taste.
We were
No.
talking about this yesterday, and I was like, is that just because we eat it more? You know, generally,
I think so.
guess. I mean, you're gonna find a woman eating chocolate more probably than a man in most typical instances, but there's always exceptions.
Well, and better
so-
chocolates.
Right.
Right,
I mean-
not just like that plain Hershey bar.
Exactly. Which,
Right.
I mean, no knock to that, but I mean, chocolate to me, it's not one of my favorite flavors, so it's not something I'm going to seek out. You know what I mean? Coffee, on the other hand, like I really love a good coffee stout, which we're going to have a delicious one later. But this one is a white chocolate, blonde from Grand Armory, and I believe they use, is it lactose in this one for a little bit of it? Could be wrong.
I don't remember. It's been a little while.
Yeah,
but
it was, but
I saw this, and if you are on my Instagram, I had a post about it because we went to an event and I tried it, and I was like, that's my one favorite from that event. So they didn't have it around here for a little while, but I got it recently. So
yep, we got this from Jason at the liquor cabinet right down the road. I go to the Temperance one. Lambertville one is much larger, but yeah, it just took a little coercion to have them start carrying it.
That can's really neat. I don't think I've ever had
Isn't it
beer
pretty?
from
Really
this
retro,
brewery.
isn't it? Like 50s,
Yeah.
kind of like a classic 50s
it
look,
matched
like
my nails
Vegas.
that day, so I had to tie it in.
But it's a really, really, well-rounded blonde. I'm like you said, this is your favorite from the Rock in the Hills event.
Yeah, it's Well, I want you to taste it first. You've never had it, right?
I've never had it.
Yeah, it's a really cool can. I took it away. Like I tried a lot that day, but that's the one I kind of left thinking about. You know. Did you go to any events this summer at all?
I have not. I've been because I bought a house, so I've been like
That's true,
all
that's true.
all
All
doing
your
house.
time was just in that.
Working on the house. Drank a lot of beer working on the house.
There you go. There you
Did
go.
your own festival.
I did.
For the course
It
of
was
6
great.
weeks.
Detroit Beer Fest will be in October, I believe.
Oh, it's at Easter Market, right?
I believe so this year. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to Chicago.
I might.
It's fun.
I might.
Festivals are a lot of fun.
They are. You just have to make sure you plan. Because the first one I went to was a nightmare. It was the summer beer fest, and so we didn't plan. We're like, yeah, I'm just gonna get drunk all day. It's gonna be great. We didn't bring any water.
Oh
Like,
wow,
It
yeah.
was like
Sunburn.
90 degrees. Yeah, I got sunburned. Not doing that again.
Yeah, you do have to. We mapped out our ideas, like what we were gonna hit, and then we took some recommendations from other breweries. Like, you have to try this beer. Like, all right, 'cause
Right. The
obviously-
pros think it's good.
Exactly.
And I think like Summer Beer Fest is huge. It's got to be. Well, I don't know. Maybe the Detroit one's probably similar size, but
I don't think so.
really.
I don't think it's any. I think
Oh,
Summer
it
Beer
was
Fest is
huge.
just out.
Well, because there's
Outweighs
two.
all the
There's two. Like when you buy tickets, you get like morning or evening or whatever, or afternoon and evening, and they have it for 2 nights, I think.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
summer
there's
beer
the
fest
one
is-
evening and then there's the full day,
Yeah.
which is $5 more, and it was very. But anyway, back to festivals. I mean, but yeah, it was. That's where we tried a lot of our favorites that day.
This one smells sweet. That's really smooth.
Isn't it nice? It's not like so in your face sweet, like you're like, oh, I couldn't have more than
Right.
one, you know? But it's like kind of just like white chocolate is kind of just smooth, you know?
But you know, you're drinking a beer.
Exactly.
You do, but
It
this
does
is something
taste like an ale.
I could drink like
It's a really
all
mellow.
day.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
That's
it's
what I'm
really
saying.
mellow. It's
Yeah.
not like super punchy.
I'd say it's even like not just a blonde, but it's pretty close to a cream ale for how like smooth it is. It's
Well,
very
I
good.
feel like all the white chocolate's on the finish more, you know?
Finish
Like
with the wrong side.
in your mouth, it's kind of like more just beer tasting, but then finish is sweet. It's sweet.
I like this beer a lot. It's a really good intro to beer. It's, you know, takes you get away from the traditional big lagers, the light lagers. It's good beer.
I like it.
That's why it's one of my wife's favorites.
That's why it's in the fridge now.
And I believe it's relative. What was it? 5% alcohol. That's a Budweiser. So I mean, something you can have throughout the night.
Right. You
Not
don't have
like-
two and you're like. Ugh.
Yeah, right. You don't. And you know, this baklava was really, really heavy and sweet. So that's one beer. You're gonna pour that for a few people and have one beer. This one you can easily have many of that 6-pack.
Well, and the white chocolate, I feel like you could drink any time of year. I feel like the sweet one would be really nice, like around a fire, kind of.
Yeah,
evening.
seasonal.
Yeah.
Browns are seasonal now that we're officially in fall.
Well, yeah, I think that's way too heavy for the summer. It's just
Oh yeah.
that's what I was saying. Like I used to love stouts and porters, but like you said, that's kind of more like a
Warm, cozy beer.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there are those great summer nights where it's still sweatshirt weather, beach weather.
That's
you know,
true.
Campfires. Like we're gonna drink a Saugatuck here in a moment, but it's they do a bonfire brown where they add a smokiness to it, and it's really like that one's a really good like summer brown. Smoky brown, I like it. I like that one. All right, give a little rinse here.
The can's
I just
really
love
cute.
it. I know. Don't you just want to like look at it all day?
It's cute.
It means something to me. I'm all about the marketing, so I like it.
Are all of their? I don't think I've ever had a beer from them before.
Grand Armory. What else do they do?
Are all their cans retro like that? It's really cute.
I don't think so, actually.
I'm trying to think of another one.
I can't think off the top of my head right now. It's not good.
I need my phone. No, just kidding.
Is that what I think it is?
The Neapolitan milk stout.
Do you like this one?
I do.
Oh, I should have asked first. Well, we've all had this, but now we get to have it on camera.
Okay,
It's
so
worth mentioning.
I'll let you do your thing and then I'll tell you my story about this.
No,
beer.
by all means.
Yesterday I saw a lady with a button of it, and we immediately had like a good connection because I was like, "Neapolitan milk stout, so good."
It
told me
is-
to go to
it's
the brewery.
So good.
She had a nitro at the brewery, so that was life changing. So
Wow,
we have
that
to do
does change the
Did you buy it?
entire beer.
No.
All right, let's hear your story.
So I had this beer at a bar in Detroit when I was in school. And it was when I first started drinking beer, and I was in a hurry, and I had my beer, and I just paid up front. And I kept trying to get the bartender's attention to figure out what it was, because I was like, oh, you know, just give me whatever stout, you know, because that's what I really liked at the time. And I couldn't get her attention, like, and it was, like, there was just not, they were short-staffed or something. So I ended up calling the next day, and I'm like, well, what kind of beer was it? And they were like, I don't know. So then I'm going online, I'm, like, looking, and I'm, like, texting people that I had been out with. I'm like, did you guys know what beer that was? Because they said that they had changed it and then they didn't know what it was or whatever. And so I ended up searching for it, and when I found it again, I was like, oh, maybe this is it. And as soon as I tasted it, I was like, this is it. So this is like one of my super favorites.
That's awesome.
You loved it enough to do all that.
I did a ton of research to try to figure this out.
And that's like maddening when you have something and you can't figure out. Like, yeah.
Well, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna narrow it down. I know it was a Michigan beer, and it was a stout, and I remember it being like chocolatey and like a little bit fruity. Like it was just, it's intense.
It's a well-made beer for sure.
It definitely is, and
You
it's
can smell the strawberry for sure.
relatively mild on the ABV. I mean, 6%, so it's a solid milk stout. But it hits all 3 flavor profiles of a Neapolitan.
I feel like it's so even with each one. Like, it's not like one's overpowering the other.
Right.
It's just definitely like...
You definitely get the berry on the nose.
Like, if you let a Neapolitan scoop of ice cream melt and drank it.
That's exactly what it tastes like.
A lot of vanilla. Like a sweet cream. Wow, we're on a dessert path right now. We're gonna move our way down the line a little bit, but this is
Oh, this one's amazing.
I wanted to start low, but it's very rich.
So those 2 were at
drinkable.
the same festival, and those were the actual 2 that I was like walking away remembering. I think the white chocolate left more of an impression just because it was different than what I typically drink. So I typically drink stouts, so the Neapolitan
Plus, it was
like,
getting hot, so we were kind of staying
it's
away
more
from stouts.
refreshing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're so heavy.
Yeah,
But this
that was the tough part of the
great.
festivals. Is like all the barrel aged goodness is usually a really, really dark ale of some sort. So you gotta kind of.
That's why I'm excited about the fall. 'Cause
Yeah.
That'll be fun to drink all the dark things there.
That's a really delicious beer. Just really, really well rounded. Like you said, it hit all 3 flavor profiles of a Neapolitan.
And it's not as bitter as some stouts can be, you know? I think if you're not used to stouts, it would be a good one to have.
Absolutely. Very good one. And I do like our new glasses. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Uncle Carl. Thank you, Uncle Paul. That was really,
They got these for
really
us,
generous.
so we're gonna have our logo put on there and then the name of each person
Oh, that's sweet.
who's a regular, you know?
So if
So I
you
was
show
like, you'll
up-
never mix
So
up our
come back, is what you're
glasses.
saying?
Put their
Exactly.
name on it.
So that's what you need to do is you establish your tenure here. You're gonna have your own glass. So even if you're not here, you're here. You know what I mean? We're all drinking good beer.
Perfect.
I know, and cheers to you.
Exactly.
Oh my god, I love that one.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a very, very good beer.
I might have to do it today, but we always joke that after the live is over, you know, what's really telling is the beer that everyone
Right, and then everybody's like, no, I want this one.
Oh, and it's like trying to guess which one or whatever. So I was like, I should do Instagram, you know, like a live Instagram and be like, come over to Instagram and see which
Do you
one
want
we
to
go
talk
for.
about your beer?
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is cold brew coffee pumpkin, and I really like Southern Tier. I was telling him earlier, I have not had a beer by them that I didn't like. They always have really, really rich flavors, and everything's pretty balanced. And I have had this one before without the cold brew, and I think it's a really good fall beer. It's definitely high ABV, so if you're planning a night, this might not be one to drink all night.
8.6.
Yes.
But a good treat at the end of the day, right?
It is.
That's why I like these 8%ers for.
And it's got that pumpkin-y flavor, so.
Cold pressed.
Cold-pressed
That's
coffee
awesome.
Pumpkin by Southern Tier.
So it wasn't, before, the one that I've had
Oh,
before
wow.
isn't super, I mean, it's coffee-y, but it's not overwhelming, so this is going to be interesting.
It is like ground, like this is freshly brewed, steeped ground coffee. Like
Well,
that
and
is-
it's got like the because coffee, when you brew it, it smells different than the grounds. Because
Exactly.
the grounds is like greener, I don't know how to describe it, but that's what I'm definitely getting when I smell it.
Yeah, I get like this has been fresh, like cold pressed. This
Wow.
has been freshly pressed coffee. This is really coffee. With only a little bit of gourd. Like there's not
It's
much.
almost like you
pumpkin.
brewed a pumpkin coffee, you know, like a pumpkin
Yeah.
flavored bean.
Where it's got like a little bit of,
Yeah,
Just chunked up some pumpkin in the.
but it says light roast, and I can definitely tell.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not super bitter; it's more like fruity, I guess.
Holy smokes! But it's opening up. Like if you notice, it's not just coffee. It's more of like a nutty, floral.
I definitely get like the nutty and like the spicy, like
Yeah.
cinnamon nutmeg type.
We tried a couple of pumpkin beers last night, and
They're.
might be winner over those.
Yeah, I'm really picky about. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really picky about pumpkin beers because I think they're way overdone. Just like
Yeah.
coffee, you know, the whole basic. It's okay. Everybody loves their pumpkin spice lattes and whatnot, but just like pumpkin beers, there's some that are just better than others.
Well, because so many people do it, and it depends on what you like, obviously. Because
Sure.
that's how taste is. Some people like really pumpkin flavor ones. Some people like the hint of
the spice, the sweet. Some some like the pie. Some like the really sharp ones, like the fruit ales that are more almost a wild ale.
I like a good pumpkin flavor, but with my lattes, I don't know about beer necessarily, but like, I don't like in a latte when there's so much spice in it that's almost like
overpowering.
offensive, like, okay, that's too much. I want to taste the pumpkin more than anything else, but
That's pretty wild.
Did I choose a good one?
I think you did.
Oh, it just smells so good.
oh, that's really easy to drink.
It's very. This is
For an 8%.
This is.
It
a
really
sleeper.
doesn't taste like it's.
It's kind of like,
at all.
6%.
At all.
but it's got a lingering flavor, kind of like and I don't mean any disrespect, but like Old Big Red. You know how it's got like that. Once you spit it out, you still have that lingering cinnamon. Like I get like a cinnamon coffee. The pumpkin is on the very beginning, the very tip of the sip, and then the rest is all, complex spice and coffee
it's definitely
sweetness.
spicy.
You know what's funny?
After.
So when I have a pumpkin latte, I generally have it with white chocolate in it because I just prefer it that way. I feel like it tones down a little bit of the spice that they add and maybe some of the pumpkin flavor. I feel like the white chocolate blend and this one mixed together would be so good.
Wow.
I might be trying that off camera.
Wow, that's a pretty novel idea.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you pour them both hard so they mix well, or do you try and layer them? They won't layer, obviously, because they're both
No, I would just
CO2.
pour them, mix them. Yeah, not necessarily layer. But they have kind of that same beer taste, like in the, like that beer kind of flavor. They're not overly pumpkin or overly white chocolate, so I think they would mix well.
Right, you're still drinking a beer.
Yeah.
I don't mind any of the flavors at all, but it's like the ones that get way off reservation, and you're not drinking a beer anymore.
What is this?
So you've had pumpkin before.
Yes.
How do you think
But
it
not the
compares?
coffee one. This is good. I really like because the coffee is kind of different than you normally get because like it's lighter than most of the time when you have a coffee beer that's really heavy and dense, and I thought that adding coffee to it would make it even like richer, but it kind of lightens it up.
Did
Oh. You've
It
had
did.
pumpkin?
I have,
I don't think I have.
and this is not your pumpkin spice latte. This is pumpkin coffee.
Yeah.
This is like fresh ground
Right,
pumpkin coffee. You want served black, or maybe with a little bit of cream or something. That's why I think your
It's
idea.
not creamy.
No,
you know, or
but this is
anything,
something
yeah.
that you would want to, like your idea of adding.
Yeah, I think that would change it up and be pretty good.
This is
Try
a
it.
really, it's dangerous though because you don't get any of that camphorous burn of like alcohol.
Right.
You know what I mean? Usually at 8% or higher,
No.
you're starting to get
Yeah,
like
you
alcohol
definitely can
flavors.
tell.
And this
No,
is not.
I would like blind taste guess this at 5% probably.
Yeah, I would say 6.
Like it doesn't feel
Mm-mm.
strong at all.
Very deceptive. Good choice. I've never had this one before.
Thank
so
you.
Southern Cheers always been.
I guess that means
Surprising.
you're invited back.
And even though they're out east, we'd still, love to have schedule a tour. If y'all would put us up, that'd be great. We'll only bring about 30 or 40 people with us.
So that sounds good for business.
That one's
Make sure to include you as
dangerous.
we go.
It does. In this case, I actually prefer the smell to the flavor. In all honest opinions.
It smells like I would put that in my house. Like it would make like a nice
Sure.
brunchy smell.
Just grind up that coffee and never.
Right.
That's what we need to do, a beer brunch.
Oh man, everything's cooked with beer too.
Right.
Well,
And you
there's a
make
few of
meals
these that I'd
pair
love to
with
like
beers.
braise with. Like the Neapolitan would be great with like I think breakfast sausage.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Give a lot of like sweetness and savory even more so. Or the baklava would be great with breakfast sausage. Your brown sugar or bacon.
See?
We do some
Sounds
crazy
sold.
stuff. We do a lot
Skip
of
the
crazy
mimosas
stuff.
and have beer.
All right, let's go to let's keep it a little lower ABV until the end, huh?
Okay.
This is Bell's special double cream stout. This one's excellent. We featured it, I believe, last time. But is this your first time having this one?
I don't think I've had this one before.
I enjoy this beer thoroughly. I was only able to 6 malts. I was able to pick out 6 of the malts they used. They used 10. So
Yeah, no lactose.
no lactose. So it is actually it's falsely called a cream stout. They use all malt to get that cream flavor.
Oh, this is gonna be rich.
So it's and at 6%, it's really, really, really good, really drinkable.
But it does taste creamy. Like you wouldn't know that it could actually have any cream in it.
You would think this was a milk stout or something.
Oh, look at how dark that is.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Big
We were
fans.
bottling this when we were at Bell's. That was fun.
It's
Seeing it on the line.
so
for
rich.
him. So it had to have been just bottled because we were just there.
Yeah,
few weeks
so this
ago.
was 820 and we got it 827, 826.
Oh, we got like a baby. It was baby beer.
It was,
This is the
and
baby.
I mean any beer, unless intentionally aged or cellared, any beer under 2 weeks is just amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So that's why I love seeing the dates on bottles or cans. Preferably cans, but we understand why people are stuck on bottles. But their growler operation was nuts. So that was really fun to watch.
It's huge.
Yeah, we're the 67.5 ounce growlers, so they're like an extra almost 4 ounces more, just because they're solid.
Eric's working on the blog, but I took photos of like their stacks of cans, and it's just like massive. I mean, just massive.
Oh,
Stacks
sure.
of just cans, like
It's a huge brewery.
huge.
Mm.
You know?
That
Everything
just
there
is
was huge.
such a great coffee and chocolate malt, like just a cream stout. It is very creamy, very easy to drink. They condition the water perfectly to make this just.
It's really malty.
Just as good as I remember.
It's so good.
I definitely taste the malts more than now that we've had the other things.
We told a lot of people to, last night at the Monroe Beer Fest, to go 2 tables down and have this one or a Scotch ale. There's only a few available dark beers, but this one's 6%, so it's you can have more than one.
Also, the Violin Monster was there.
Yeah, that Violin Monster ABC. That's a spicy imperial though, so
Yeah,
it's
we had that
a
one.
very
So it's really good.
very dominant beer. So that'll mess up your palate for the rest of the night.
It's okay with me because I'm probably not gonna drink anything else.
So Kyle at ABC, when are we gonna start drinking those on site, huh? What? Ipsy and Ann Arbor, so they've got some great projects going on. Always do some great projects. I mean, we were there at the hop farm. That was really awesome.
And I think they just released that. I
It
saw
should
on
it should
Instagram.
be released 2
The
weeks.
Fisher's Farm. What do they call it?
Fresh hops or something.
Yeah, it's
Fisher Farm Fresh.
So they have like a collab with this farm that does hops, and then they go and pick them like for the day. It's like a day thing for all their employees, and then they make a beer with it. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, we got to stop by there. It was fun.
Yeah, we heard some really fun stories about the event after we left, so that was exciting.
Hey, when you have an Uber, you gotta finish the
That's
beer.
right.
That's
Everyone
basically
got
what it
home
boils down
safely,
to.
and responsibly. That's the most important thing.
Mhm.
It's the most important thing.
It was a nice day. that day, too.
CYOA.
They had some pizza there. What was that place?
It's all owned by the same
Mm-hmm.
group of investors, owners. So I forget, but it's on.
That was
the
really cool because they had a traveling
ice cream. Their
what do you call it? Like a fire.
oh, they actually had a stone oven.
Yeah.
They actually
in
had a
their
pizza
trailer. It was
oven.
pretty cool.
It was stone. Like, I mean, it looked stone anyway. It was incredible. Like a wood-fired stone
Ooh.
pizza. And they were all flat, like really thin crust, but they were
Very
delicious.
flavorful.
You
Like,
can't beat the crust on that.
I mean, no, you really can't. But I love this beer, and I think this was our last one that we picked up from Kalamazoo, this fresh, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll be ready for some more bells, by all means. You know where to send it.
Have you ever been over to Two Bandits in Ohio?
Mm-mm.
So we're going on the 6th for his birthday. They're having a big event. What's it called?
Their Hoptober event, I think.
October, something like that. So they're doing a
0.8 mile marathon.
or is it kilometer or mile?
I don't know.
I'd be much more on board with mile if it was 0.8.
Anyway, it's okay because there's pit stops where you can have donuts and, you know, it's like three blocks marathon.
Yeah, that's
4 blocks.
that's where I can start.
Stops. That's awesome.
And, you know, obviously a bunch of beer and everything. I hope they have that peanut butter one. I've been missing it ever since I had it.
That's
Have you had any peanut
a
butter?
very unique beer.
I don't like peanut butter. I try it.
It's different, but amazing. I mean, definitely it has peanut
They
butter
described
flavor.
it as like a very Reese's peanut butter, but in my opinion, it was a lot more near to like a Nutter Butter because there was a distinct wafer flavor.
Yeah, it was very like buttery and smooth. Like
I'd try
I mean,
it.
it was
I know
dry.
you'd try it. I know you
I
would.
would. I
I
don't turn down
believe in you.
sampling beer.
Well, there's a few stouts there you probably really like, and
Yeah.
even their IPAs I actually enjoy.
Their double
which
IPA was very good.
I'm not necessarily an IPA person all the time, but they were very drinkable.
Yeah,
And
they had
easy.
2 New Englands or hazies or juicies, whatever you want to call them now. They're
All around great beer. Everything they produced that we tried was
which
great.
is why it's really, and I do apologize, the blog is very difficult. We have over 4 hours of audio plus video plus how many pictures.
There was a lot to take in there.
I'm trying to do them justice because the actual tour was, I mean, it's such a small establishment, but it's not, it's the culture that's more impressive than you know, what you see. It's what you feel.
Captured on the pictures.
Precisely.
Like seeing what you go there to see, like typically at a brew tour, you know, you see in like literally 5 minutes because it's just so small.
Check this out. We got
Here it is.
beers.
Okay, let's go. And then, but we sat down and talked with them, and it was just really cool
We
to
met
hear
a
their
number
culture.
of people. Everyone was just very enthusiastic, so that's why it's
Yeah.
very. Because if I were to just write a tour blog, it would be 3 paragraphs and done, and I just can't. I can't find myself to do that just because the culture is just so. It's just amplifies what the beer culture really is. There's so many people that are willing to make this successful.
Yeah.
So we just want to be a part of that, you know.
So we're definitely gonna go back on the 6th.
Yeah.
If you want to come, it's a weekend.
Maybe.
I might have to put that in
It's
your
Saturday.
calendar.
I might.
I know it starts like at noon-ish, something like that, or maybe early or late morning. But I don't think we can make it all day. But they said there are a few people that do try all day, and I'm really excited to try their menu. That was the downside
that's
is we
true.
went when they were closed. Their kitchen was closed. They only operate like 5 days a week currently. And we did the tour on an off day, but they do a wild and exotic game, so kangaroo, alligator,
Oh wow.
things of that nature. Like
Yeah.
I would really ostrich. I think I saw. Is that on there? I
Yeah,
could be
and then
wrong.
they
But
just
there's-
had various types of things like sandwiches, pizzas, Thai food. I mean, just
yeah,
There's regular
So,
stuff in case I
they
don't
have a
like
really
kangaroo.
good chef. And
yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's and they wanted to, that was one thing they amplified is that they wanted to cater to many different. Like if you want a burger, yeah, we'll cook you the best burger you've ever had in a brew pub type thing,
yeah.
or you can have this
Something
straight
more
from
exotic.
yeah, exactly.
The environment was just so welcoming. They like were saying even that they took a lot of time picking out their lighting just to make it like the right atmosphere
Mhm.
like that they were looking for. So I don't want to give too much away.
I know, but I mean that's the hard part is
it
like
was so cool.
there's so much on the walls. Like it feels like there's 100 people that live in that brew pub because of so many people contributing to the decor.
Mhm.
There's some really heart-wrenching stories. There's some heartfelt stories. There's some. I mean, it's
Generosity and
a lot. There seems to be like a lot of people backing this very small operation that's just like exploding.
Let's
And
go.
yeah. I think we were both really surprised. So.
Yeah, I mean, we just came from the largest or the smallest
did
to the
Bell's
largest.
after.
Yeah, so we just went from two
Went
bandits
from,
then
yeah.
to Bell's. So we went from like the smallest,
Yeah.
like 1 barrel operation you could essentially pull off to the largest in the state and competing in other states. So that was really wild. But everyone's putting out good beer. That's what's impressive.
You'd appreciate in their bathrooms. This is the first time I ever took photos in a bathroom of a brew pub, but they literally did like cut out all these comics of women in comic books and covered their doors like their stall doors
Oh, that's
and their
cool.
door, and then it was
They did
like
the same
Wonder
with the
Woman
men's.
theme and on the outside, and
Very
in the men's
cool.
it was like all the men, and so that took some time, but that was really cool. I thought.
Oh, I'll have to look at those pictures. It sounds neat.
Oh, you could stand there for 25 minutes and not read everything. You know what I mean?
Just check that
I was
out.
like,
Yeah.
wow.
I mean, it's like everything just has. There's a reason for everything there. It's not just that looks good. Let's put this on the wall.
That's true.
Everything was really deliberate.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a good one.
All right, let's see.
So that's Hicksville, right? Hicksville?
It is Hicksville.
Hicksville, Ohio. It's pretty near to Indiana, so it was about, I don't know, how long of a drive?
We got there in about an hour.
Oh, an hour?
Hour 15 minutes.
Something like that.
All right. So this one, I don't know how to say it, and I apologize, founders. I were to call it Trigo. I apologize, but it's their hoppy wheat lager. It's the first time I had it was last night at the Monroe Beer Festival. It was very surprising. I mean, they essentially created their own style of beer. It's if you like wheats, there's a very pronounced wheat flavor. If you like hops, there is a lot of hops in this lager. And I'm not usually a big fan of lagers, but this lager yeast is very easy to drink. I prefer ale yeast, and actually really Bell's makes the best, probably has the best American ale yeast there is, in my opinion. So I'm really picky. But for a lager, I was really, really impressed with this one.
I'm interested in this because usually you don't get the wheat and the hops.
In a lager.
Like you I don't know. Usually like one is really pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one's definitely different than anything I've ever had.
I know it's more I mean it's wild. It's because you think hoppy, you go right away to a pale ale or an IPA. You think wheat, you go again right to an ale or a wit or a Belgian or something like that. Even a farmhouse if you want to get into like even crazier yeast. But then you read lager and it just throws everything. It's a curveball. Pretty exciting. Like they do a lot of crazy stuff and they're just exploding. Now they're international from what I understand.
It smells like pineapple.
Probably a lot from the hops on it.
It smells hoppy. I had it last night too, but it smells hoppier, I think, than it tastes to me.
I definitely get your pineapple, tropical fruits. Definitely a lot of hops on the nose. You don't get that distinct lager yeast smell that I'm looking for. It's not
I
there.
get a little bit of pine, but I'm not as experienced with hop scents, I guess.
But pine definitely makes sense too.
Oh, that's so smooth. It's really,
Isn't it
really
crazy
hoppy,
how
but
it's,
it's
like,
so
balanced?
it doesn't
Like, you
it
get 'em
doesn't
both.
kick. Oh my god, I love this one.
Yeah, it's like definitely just both. I don't really get a lot of lager taste.
No,
I definitely just taste.
I mean,
wheat and hop-
I do.
hops.
Just from like how it like feels on the tongue. I mean, the color's great.
I guess that's true. Maybe the aftertaste a little bit is.
You get a really
little
good
lager.
straw color. It was a good head on this beer. I mean, Founders has just been pumping out delicious beer, and from what I understand, this is brand new. I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. I really do apologize, but invite us out to Grand Rapids and teach us because we're willing to learn.
I really like this one. It's different. It's so different because usually you don't get that hoppy flavor without that punch.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Like
right.
it's really mild.
It mellows.
Like I
it
feel
out,
like
so
you
it's
could give
not
this
an
to
aftertaste.
anybody and they would like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had a lot of people last night at the festival. So we volunteered. We were working with Raven Associates. We volunteered with Craig. He just needed a little help pouring some beer. My wife and I obviously know a little bit about beer, and we were pouring Brewery Vivant and Founders almost all night. And this one we had to try while we were there. A lot of people were turned off by the color of the can, but once they tried it, they're like, "Wow, it doesn't matter what it looks
It's
like."
so weird to me. Somebody said, "I don't usually drink out of a brown can." I'm like, "What?" And
But I
then
know-
that was a
Never
thing.
heard that.
I know.
All right.
I'd really like to know the story of like the can art
Yeah.
because just what little I know about them, they were recently bought out by a Spanish, like a
Does that say art
Mega.
prize?
probably.
Art prize?
Oh, that's a thing that they do out in Grand Rapids.
Oh, really?
Like an art
It's like an art festival.
Oh, cool.
They must have honored like an artist or something.
Because, I mean, it just looks like a Spanish, you know.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it in a brown can. That's good.
Yeah, I don't care. It's like it looks better in a glass.
I think it looks like what it tastes like.
But this would be one that would be really good in a pint or their 19.2. You know, they're big cans.
Jumbo.
Because like this is a lawn mowing beer. You know, this is really easy to drink.
Yeah.
The wheat mellows out the hops, but the hops are really pronounced on the nose.
So 6.3%.
So it's
really
right up
like
there with
one.
you know, pale ales and you know, hefty lagers. So I was very impressed with this one. Congratulations, founders again.
It's a good gateway beer to hops because I'm not really big on hops, but I would drink this and be happy. So I like wheats, but I don't generally like lagers either. So it's kind of surprising that.
Oh, I love wheat beers. That's probably
I like
my
wheats.
favorite.
This is actually, I mean, of the 3 words, there's only one that I like. That's hoppy. But I mean, I will drink this because it's very good. And it's light enough where you can have more than one. It's actually heavier than, you know, Bell's double cream, heavier than the Neapolitan, you know what I mean? So it's surprising that it is.
Oh my god, I love this one. I really do.
It drinks like water. I mean, it just drinks so well.
Is this the one you're gonna go for when you try out the
It might be. So I live in Detroit, and there's not a whole lot of like. When you go to the liquor stores nearby to pick up beer, you only get like big name places, but they a lot of times will have founders because their craft beer section is like Kleine Kugels, and then that's it.
We have Sam Adams.
Yeah, yeah. So I hope that I can find this one.
Well, the tap room is right outside of downtown Detroit.
It is. So I'm just saying when I'm like running to the store for when I'm working on my house.
You should you should definitely, you know.
I should go to the tap room and pick up a nice
they do
gentleman.
growlers and growlers there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you could definitely.
And I do believe they have a small they do have a cooler to buy beer. I believe.
Oh yeah, there was. Yeah.
So
in
I mean,
the shop.
That's actually the day that I closed on my house. Like the first weekend day I had, my sister came up and we did a little bit of work and we went to Founders House. First time I've been there in Detroit.
That's awesome.
So that's how I
So it was a celebratory.
Yes, and their food was so good.
Oh my goodness, it was out of this world.
Yeah.
It was it was amazing.
Dreaming about it ever since.
Even their mustard was amazing.
Yeah, everything was delicious. Plus, my sister's a vegetarian. A lot of times you can't go places.
Right.
Meat and everything.
Oh,
They're like
those,
one
what were
option.
they, like veggie chips that they had?
They were all root vegetable
chips.
Yeah, and
So
they
good.
had
Like
a couple
cheese
different
or something.
sauces or spreads with it. This one I was really hoping to share with people that haven't drank or claim they don't like IPAs. It's Perrin's Blackberry IPA, 5%. I believe they claim like 30 or 35 IBUs on this. Technically, it's not an IPA, it's a fruit ale, but they claim there's enough hops in here to pronounce it. It's just, again, one of those gateway beers. So this is one that I would put in my starter kit because it would be, you know, flavored IPAs are coming around now, but they're mostly citrus. So to have a decent blackberry, it's a good beer. I mean, honestly, I only purchased it. Jason from Liquor Cabinet, I got this one from him. The only reason I purchased it because I wanted to share what an IPA can taste like or what people claim an IPA tastes like. But this was mostly for like Tiffany, so you have to give her grief that she didn't partake. But it's not, and I don't really, I mean, Melissa, I'm sure you had this one, right?
Yes. And it's such a pretty color.
True. I don't know if I have.
No?
I think I had a taste of it.
You are
I
in
think
for
you
a
have.
treat.
I
Even
think
if you
you
don't
have.
like
The other
IPAs.
night, I think you had me taste it.
We had it at game night.
I'm coming around. I'm coming around. You ordered my first IPA on purpose a few weeks ago, so.
I mean, that color is awesome.
Pretty proud of myself.
It is just a vibrant crimson, like red. It's just scarlet, just bright red.
Almost like a pink red.
It's beautiful.
It smells like an ale, but it's a really dense, like blackberry sweetness. You know what I mean? It's not overly like fruity or flowery, but it's really, really dense, sweet blackberry fruit.
And the purple just kind of calls you.
This is my favorite color.
It's like, hello, grab me.
And I mean, like I said, I would never order a pint of this, but I always recommend someone else to, because it is one you have to try if you've never had it. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't like it. I just, I demand other flavors, and this one doesn't really hit those, but it is a great gateway to IPAs is the key what I'm trying to get. It's not overtly hoppy, which most people are, we were talking earlier. The hops are such a distinct flavor that if you're not ready for it, you're not going to like it.
Yeah, you're not going to like it.
And so, as you said, you started with stouts and porters because even though they're very hoppy beers, that's not the dominant flavor.
You're right.
And so with this, with being such a low IBU, again, it's perceived bitterness, right? And then I was talking to someone who blogs online, and he and I were conversing just like the whole bitterness kind of like myth of like 100 IBU, 100 plus IBUs. Like eventually your tongue can't taste it anymore. Mm-hmm. And to hit those numbers, you've got to be doing some really, really complex chemistry.
That sounds like I like IPAs, but not 100 IBUs.
Oh, I love it. I think it's amazing.
I'm not ready for that.
But you're just like, you're beating yourself up.
But I'm not going to taste anything else after that, so better be your last one, right?
That's right. So,
I don't think I did try this because I really like it, but it doesn't taste like a IPA at all to me. That's
why the name is deceiving, and that's why I believe like it's a great gateway, because there is a large amount of hops compared to like other fruit ales, but by no means like an IPA. Especially being so low in ABV, it's actually closer to a session if you were to call it an IPA, but it reminds me actually a lot of like Frambois or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really crisp. Like I would say this is good for people that like cider also. Yeah.
Sure, ciders.
Because it's got that, it's got like the fruity part.
It's almost like brandy without the sweetness. It's just, there's so much blackberry in this. And I don't know much about the beer, so I assume they're using, like whole berries, or at least, I don't know if they're using juice, but this tastes like real blackberries, not like, the condensed
the
juice.
The flavor, like the weird, like, lever.
Exactly. And I like Perrins. They do a lot of good things. They put out a lot of good beer. I'm glad this one's back. It's, it used to be one of their cores, but they made it seasonal, so they only make it 6 months out of the year, which I don't understand. Perrins, please answer that question. Like, you want to have more people drinking your beer, you should have this beer year-round. Don't get me wrong, your grapefruit is very good, and it's very good for people who like to drink past the blackberry, but your blackberry is a gateway IPA. Like, it should be on the shelves all the time.
Well, and I think that it's kind of a neat mix, because most of the time when you get IPAs, like you get citrus or different stuff, I don't think I've ever seen blackberry.
Right. You're getting tropical fruits, juiciness, so even melon, but you're getting other fruits. You're not getting a distinct berry flavor. I think if you gave someone this and then you gave them the blueberry IPA that I loved. The blueberry, sure. Or even it'd be like the next step, and then maybe you could, kind of slowly venture into that. Yeah, I would. Sorry to interrupt, but I would actually start with a rubaeus and then go right to this can. Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? True. Like, ooh, you loved that raspberry? Now let's go down a little hoppier version of another berry. And it's like, you didn't realize you were just drinking an IPA. Mm-hmm.
This one's never. I tried to convince my dad to get this the other day because we were working on the house, and he's like, I don't like IPAs. And I'm like, I'm telling you, it's really good. He's like, no.
They hung up on the word.
I should have just stuck it in the cart. Yeah.
You really gotta try this Perrins blackberry. Just stop it.
Right? Just leave it alone.
That's when you say, like, do you want to get this beer? For sure.
But I've never toured them, but I'd love to tour them. I think they'd be a lot of fun.
What's the one you really love by them? Isn't available usually right now?
No Rules.
No Rules, yeah.
It's a Vietnamese porter. Like a
the coconut one? Oh.
They did a coconut one. Yeah, it changes every year from what I understand, but only a very few places got it because I got a little backstory on them. One of the big retailers like ticked them off, so they said, "All right, nobody gets it in a bottle or bomber. Nobody gets it then." So they only kegged it.
Stick it to the man, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're the ones in charge, right? It's their beer.
That's true.
And as like I describe my side of the business, it's like the beer is the art, the retailer or the establishment, the bar is, the museum, and I'm the lighting guy. I'm the guy that like highlights the beer. So it's like if you ever had to deal with artists, you know that they're more worried about the integrity of their content than whether or not that dollar comes in.
Well,
in
and
play.
rightfully so.
Spend
so
it's
much
theirs.
time, so much of their time
Yeah, you want to make sure people get it.
creating what they're intending.
What you intended.
Yeah.
Sure. And in my opinion, all they did was just drive the craze for a better market.
Mm-hmm.
Like now in my opinion, when it comes back, it's gonna just like explode because people couldn't get it last year unless they were at a pub. You know what I mean?
It's smart on the sales level.
It is. It's really, really smart marketing. All right, so we're gonna stick down the IPA path. Sorry, babe, I didn't.
Okay.
I just had to do one. I have not had this one yet. It's Arbor Brewing Company's Tilted Earth Autumn IPA. I've had their summer, and I believe we had their spring, or at least I did. I think you tried. But we were talking with, was it Craig's son, daughter-in-law? I could be mistaken, but she said this was her favorite version of the Tilted Earth, so I'm excited to try this one. I have not had this one yet. I have not had an IPA from them that I have not liked, so.
This one's new. I have not had Tilted Earth in any version.
Oh,
wow, look at that color.
None of us have had this. It's a cool can.
Yeah, they do, and I like how they change the color, the hue of their trees every year, or like every season, I should say.
Yeah, I like it.
So you say you're not really an IPA drinker? You just drink them sometimes?
No, I like them. I can tell that it's an acquired taste when I'm drinking it. They're not as smooth. Like to me, they're too punchy. They're too.
For me, like, I don't mind the taste of it, but I don't like when it lingers or like it finishes and you're like, oh, the bitterness is really getting you, I want it to be kind of like over and done with, but that's kind of just my palate in general.
Yeah, you're like that with everything. Yeah. Onions, garlic, cinnamon.
And what's weird is I've noticed lately I've noticed craving a little bit of that IPA taste, but that's the thing is like there's only so many that you can drink and have the taste, but then have it like disappear right away. Gone. Yeah, so.
That is a very unique quality to certain IPAs. Is like having the ability for that bitterness to leave your palate because it's lingering and it builds in almost every case. Mm-hmm. So if you can, and what I found through the chemistry, it's all about the conditioning of the water, which good brewers are always testing their water. So they can achieve exactly what they're going for. But I mean, this color is amazing for just an American IPA. I mean, this is a lot darker than I expected. It's a really, really rich kind of like almost an orange amber. Like it's.
I like how the can's like kind of matte metallic though. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it is neat.
I'm all about the can all the time.
I don't think I've ever seen Arbor brewing beer in cans.
It's new.
Yeah, they just started canning. That's what we learned from the Hops Farm, which I was really excited because I was like, look, you guys are finally jumping on board that cans are better, and they agreed 100%. I mean, bottles are good, but bottles they fail, and cans are harder to fail. It's like if you have one bad can, the whole batch is bad. But like bottles eventually will go bad. Light intrusion, they're more susceptible to heat. Cans can like cool so much faster, so you can save the beer faster. So.
See, I don't know anything about this, and for a long time I was really hesitant about drinking canned beer because I'm like, no, it's like the beer that they make that they just like
your dad's beer.
They add the carbonation into it, and I'm like, no, I want like real beer. So.
Right. Well, for a long time, real beer, craft beer, was in a brown bottle.
Would only come in a brown bottle.
And that's finally the industry's getting away from that because all these cans are lined with a polymer now, so you will not taste any of that aluminum, which you used to, like pre-mid 90s. Coors Light was really the ones that like revolutionized it, but other places were doing it. But yeah, you're never going to get that flavor ever again from a can, that's why they're so much better. You can't get light penetration, they cool faster, as long as they're purged correctly and they've passed spear tests. I mean, there's nothing better.
So I should not be as hesitant. I still kind of am, because I'm like,
It's a can. Pour it in a glass after that. I mean, that's my honest advice is like, if it's the can that's holding you back, buy the can, pour it in a glass.
It's more that like in my head is like, no, you can't. It's gonna be some fake beer. I don't like fake news with fake beer. I don't want it.
Fake juice? No, just kidding.
Well, that also comes in a can. But I mean, that's the thing is a lot of these breweries are coming around. Founders used to only do bottles. Bell's used to only do bottles. Arbor used to only do bottles. I mean, it's the right way to go. Two Bandits, they're doing canning rather than bottles, which I was really happy to hear. I mean, you just got to think about the cost as well.
Well, an environment, like, glass doesn't get recycled very often.
And also, like, the amount, it's heavier, so the amount it costs to, like, move it in both directions.
There's more risk. I mean, you drop a can, you dent it, you drop a bottle, you break it.
I did that yesterday.
Isn't that heart-wrenching?
Rest in peace.
So this one this is really a malt-dominant IPA. I mean, it is a little hoppy, but it is really mellow.
It doesn't smell super happy to me.
This
Normally,
one,
that's all I smell if I'm smelling anything IPA at all.
I mean, I could be way off here, but I get like a West Coast and like a Centennial subtle hops from it.
I think there's certain hops
Really,
that I
really light.
like better than others.
Oh yeah,
Is what
absolutely.
I've started to narrow it down to, you know. I wonder if there are ones that linger more than...
Oh, absolutely. Oh wow, that drink's totally different than it sips or than it smells. That is extremely dry. There's the IPA shiver. Wow,
like
that
it.
is
It's
really
definitely
dry.
a fall taste.
Yeah. It's almost, now, I want to say they use Columbus in here because it's almost peppery.
I was gonna say that actually. It's kind of
Earthy and peppery.
Earthy.
So it's got a real like dried burnt leaf. You know what I mean?
It doesn't want to say on the can. So.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
I don't know if this makes any sense, but it tastes like the color it is.
No.
Kind of like a dead leaf.
Yeah, it just
I
makes
think
perfect sense to me that it's this color.
I honestly, I mean, I agree with you. That's kind of what I was getting at. It tastes like, you know, like you're having a small like leaf burning bonfire, without all that smokiness. I mean, there is definitely, it's peppery. It's weird. It's really
peppery.
good.
Mm-hmm.
It's earthy, but it's amalgamated so well because I still get a really really light kind of like a yeast kind of creaminess and a really really subtle. Malt is more on the nose than on the palate, but I mean it flip-flops. It's like it's malty and light hops on the nose, and then it's heavy hops and light malt on the palate. Like it.
Yeah, smelling it, I was not expecting it to taste like this at all. So
This
it
is
caught me off guard a little
excellent. I mean, I really like their summer, and to taste their autumn is awesome. Like, this was really different.
I'd like to taste them side by side.
Well,
Just for me, because I don't
Kyle, set
distinct-
that up, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's do some side by sides.
I can't distinguish or remember as well as you can with IPAs because they kind of start to taste the same to me, but
Sure. Well, it's that acquired taste.
I
you
could
know?
definitely distinguish if it was like one right after the other, maybe, I guess.
And that was also getting back to earlier when I said like the females can pick up like coffee and chocolates better than males can, but males can pick up bitterness from hops and like heat. So like capsaicin, horseradish heat. It's just like our tongues and our brains are they're different. And so, you know, that's why to have something that like hits, beers that hit all over the palate, like, you know, I've trained my palate to accept more malt because I love malt. Like I'm a malt fan. I'm a hop head, but I'm a malt fan. So like, I've trained myself. A lot of people are like hopheads and they don't really care for the complex densities of 10 malts in a beer or something like that. So, you know, there's that innate ability in all of us. We just have to hone it. We have to practice. It takes practice. Drinking takes practice.
Darn.
I'm down. I'm much more down for that.
Mozart said practice makes perfect, so drink more responsibly. I'm impressed you finished that. That face sells it.
I was just trying to get over with. I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything by it.
I love that beer.
I can appreciate. Oh, I got really grapefruity taste just there at the end.
Yeah, it was really extra
bitter.
Cringy bitter. Just it was like, grapefruit rinds. You know what I mean?
If you like IPA, you'll love it because I didn't.
Because you're still tasting it.
Yes.
So it's gonna be a little difficult then to go to the next one. So we'll pour a little heavier, so we get a little extra on it. But it's one of my favorites from Big Lake. It's their Dark Star. They just have to let us know. Keith, give us a shout whenever you want us to crack open that barrel aged. Because I still have that chilling. But we're gonna do your traditional Dark Star, which is an 8% coffee stout, and it is awesome.
So have you had any Big Lake?
No, I haven't. I'm really excited.
Oh my goodness, you have to.
I love some stouts. So.
I know in Big Lake though, like, so the brewer was telling us that he started brewing because
I'll let you see it.
he
coffee rocket.
That's super,
right?
That's super cool.
He would like brew for fun at home, and then they would have like get-togethers with, you know, and their friends would bring their wives, and the wives would never drink the beer that he brewed. So he decided to start brewing beer that the women would drink too. And so like all of his beer, even though it's like an IPA or a light beer, which I guess you could kind of compare to, you know, your typical light beer, but even though it's made differently, it's like women really enjoy drinking it because it's not as over the top bitter or, you know, any of those things. It's like very drinkable. I've never had this though. I didn't try it when we were there.
Oh my goodness, this was
I tried a few.
This was the first beer I ever had from Big Lake. It was from on Jonah's recommendation. He let me have a sample of it. The can has just evolved immensely. Like, it's really, really cool.
I love their marketing, like their look.
Then from there I went Leroy Brown, and then I love their IPAs. I love their Ryko. I love their Ramarillo. Their rye IPAs, and they exclusively use those hops. So it's like, when I was running the bar, I loved having those two on at the same time. So you can have exactly the same ingredients except for the hops, and you have completely different beers.
So you can see how different.
Oh yeah, it's not just the color. I mean, like, they were very close in color, but because like the hops manipulated the malt just enough, where I should say the hops manipulated the yeast just enough where it couldn't affect the malt. You know what I mean? So that, and I mean, he's a mad scientist. He's so
for sure
dialed into the scientific side.
Very specific, very, you know.
Zach, right? Zach and Keith.
Zach, yeah.
Zach's the head brewer. He's just, yeah, dialed into the whole chemistry of it. Like, tests everything repeatedly, sends things off site to New Holland, who apparently has a pretty badass setup too, and he loves their work. So by all means, like, you know,
they've made room for expansion, which is cool. And then also he can take like a small batch, like there's just this little tiny batch, and then duplicate it and make it giant, just by the science of it, which is so cool. Make it like be exactly the same, you know.
So if you've ever baked anything, it's not really that easy to just like multiply,
right?
Because you know, certain things have certain, you know, boil points, densities. So you know, you're not gonna just, hey, I need 100 times this size. Let's add 100 times of everything. Like it
doesn't work like
doesn't
that.
always work like that.
No, and he's just mastered it. So Zach, I love this beer, and I cannot wait to crack open that barrel aged Dark Star. I think I'm gonna actually feature it in a barrel aged tutorial.
I like that.
We're gonna do a barrel aged day. You want to be here for that?
I got my ears poking out on that one. Yeah.
That's exactly
Make it
my
a Saturday,
wife's.
not a Sunday.
I mean, you're a barrel aged stout fan.
I truly do love barrel aged.
I mean, you're wearing your favorite on right now. Like,
yes.
it's breakfast stout. This is definitely a breakfast stout. Coffee dominant. There definitely is, subtle chocolate in it, but there's a lot of chocolate in it.
And Big Lake was my first IPA that I ordered on purpose. That's the company.
So they know what they're talking about when they like brew to the women.
It was just so good.
Well,
I loved it.
It's a missed market opportunity. Is that their marketing? It shows women drinking beer, and it's not the Miller Lite commercial like that. It's real women drinking real beer, for the love of beer, and it's nothing fancy. Like their cans are not fancy. They don't go out of their way to like be the most excitable one. Zach wanted the proof to be in the liquid.
Right.
He wanted the beer to sell itself, and so you look for the simplicity of the can because it's lost in, the 1,000 beers that are in that cooler. Now you know which one you're looking for. So.
It's so simple and streamlined compared to some of the other can artwork that you see out there. Like I feel like your eye actually like goes towards it because it's just like, and some of their cans are matte, like the labels are matte finish. Mm-hmm. As opposed to like bright and shiny, so you have like this, oh, that's different,
Right.
But it is so simple, it just lets the beer speak for itself, and I think it's really impressive. I really like their canning, their marketing.
How does it smell?
It smells good. I don't smell a lot of chocolate. I smell a lot more coffee.
This does not taste 8% at all.
Well, in my opinion, it's such a dark, rich roast. You know how like that can get like a really like 80% like cocoa dark chocolate. Like that's what I get. I don't get like sweet chocolate. I get really, really rich chocolate. Like
all I smell is coffee, and all I taste is chocolate. It's kind of weird.
In for a treat. I like that. That's what I love about stouts. Like they're so like rich and thick.
Oh yeah, and that color. I mean, you can't see through that. I could.
Yeah, I want to have this by a fire at night.
I taste so much more chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very in your face chocolate, but in a good way. Oh man, how many do we have?
I like that one.
Oh, this was the only one that they sent us.
She's gonna have a sticky note. She's like, "Do not touch."
We're gonna write my name.
There's the barrel age. Like I said, Keith or Zach, whenever you guys do your next barrel age program or when you release it, let us know. We'll feature that can. But I have that one chilling, waiting. And in all honesty, usually barrel age, I like to have them kind of warm up in your hand. To be honest with you, they really open up. They're a lot more complex once they've kind of warmed up. I think if you hold a glass for about 10 minutes, you're now bringing that beer to about 55 degrees, 65 degrees at the most, and it's just so much. There's so much more to the beer. The cold hides a lot, but this one, there's a lot of chocolate forward on the sip, but it ends in coffee bitterness. Like it is like I just had a sip of black coffee. Like this is. Can I have a pint of black coffee, please? And 8% is just hidden. I mean, this definitely could pass. Could easily pass as a 6%er.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not as it doesn't taste like boozy.
Right.
Some of the barrel age too, like that get up around 8 and even beyond. You know it. Like you take a sip and it's kind of, kind of gets you a little. This isn't like that at all, so.
KBS 12.2, 12
Which I love
plus.
that part, but sometimes you don't always want that whole 12%.
Sure. This one you could have with dessert and another one after.
Right.
Whereas the KBS is your dessert beer.
Yeah, you're going to have just the one there.
Have you ever made, like, root beer floats, but with beer?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
This would be really
Beer
good
float.
for that.
This would be so good with that.
What ice cream would you use?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know flavor and brand.
Calder vanilla, because I'm all about the local.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And they use custard, right?
They do. It's a
Is it
custard.
a custard?
Do they have custard?
They are custard. It's not ice cream. It's Calder's custard, I believe.
I don't know about that.
Really?
I could be wrong.
I'm almost certain they're custard.
Another option is their horchata, because it's got that, like, cinnamon.
Ooh.
So that would be good with.
That would really spice it up, make it more seasonal.
I was thinking like a butter pecan or something like that. Maybe go nutty.
You know what would be wild? I was thinking like an eggnog ice cream.
Mm.
Like a chilly evening.
I think that would be really good, but I'd still like
I'd
still like the beer though, because I feel like you'd lose like the like Because this beer is really good. I think that you'd lose it if you added.
I hear you. Absolutely.
Maybe next to it. So we take a bite, take a sip.
Oh yeah, beer a la mode.
So after we do beer brunch, we could do like beer ice cream social.
Exactly. We have to this winter.
It'll be a buffet of beer and delicacies.
I do like
a
it.
beer charcuterie.
I have not had a Big Lake beer I don't like, so there you go.
So yeah, I wanted to end on that one. I didn't realize you brought an 8.2%er, which we put in the middles, but I wanted to end on the heavier one. We did a lot of good stuff between 5 and 8%. It's a lot. There's 9 beers here, right? Yeah. It's a lot of beer.
I'm glad I got to try some new ones because usually like I've had them all.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're really trying to do here is just exposure for a lot of breweries. So anyone that is here, we're open to tour your facility. We're open to get your voice out there. Like I said, we're just on this side of the business. We're just trying to be a loud voice for craft beer because there is better beer out there. We were talking last night at the festival. Anyone that is a light lager drinker, you need to go to Founders and drink their Solid Gold. That is like their version of Budweiser, and it's better, and they sell it by the case now at Meyer. So there's no reason why you shouldn't. Like if you're a Bud Light or a Budweiser drinker, like that's your gateway into craft lagers right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much better. It's all American ingredients. It's an American company, partially owned by Spanish, but that's okay. We'll talk later.
Well,
in Michigan
company.
Yeah, that's right, Michigan. And they're all over now, for like 40 different states or something like that. So they're kicking butt. Bell's also is like all over the place. Like, and Michigan's taken the world by storm, and we're still brewing like the best beer in the world. So it's exciting. I love this beer. This is the one that turned me on to Big Lake.
Is it the same as you remember?
2 years ago. Honestly, I think it's more coffee forward than I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, so the first sip, the tip of the palate is a lot of chocolate, like really rich dark chocolate, but it finishes like a fresh, like when your coffee turns cold. That's like what the palate ends on, is like a cold sip of coffee.
Social worker coffee.
I'm too busy to even
too busy to drink the coffee.
I thought this is hot, fresh.
I don't know. I get like that almost like orangey bitter chocolate taste.
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about? Like that it's so bitter that you get like that fruity almost taste. I don't really get a lot of coffee on the taste at all.
No, like you said, it was just a lot more chocolate.
Like if I'm craving chocolate, here you go. This is going to satisfy me for sure. My chocolate craving.
All right, fellows, Big Lake, we can just PM me for my address. Will help me out. What is that, about a week out of? We need about a week's worth.
That's enough.
I don't know. Well, I'm saying that because I'm gonna drink half of them.
True.
Maybe 2 weeks.
It
worth.
really frightens me that we only have this one can here.
Like I said, there's the barrel age, but I've been holding off on it because they asked me to.
I know. I won't interfere.
And I was holding off on this one intentionally because all of my friends want to drink IPAs. It would be lost on them.
True.
I wanted people who would appreciate a really, really well done coffee stout.
I think you got it.
It's earthy. It's really good.
Did you see the can says coffee beans, cocoa nibs, and snifter glass?
Oh, that's a
So it
perfect
comes with
recipe.
Nailed it.
directions.
We nailed it, huh?
Oh, that's good.
Sure did.
It's fun.
So, what's your takeaway? Which is the first one you grab?
Me, I'm gonna do that mix.
You're doing the mix.
You know I'm gonna do the white chocolate pumpkin mix. I gotta try that.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Founders.
The Trigo.
You were loving
Try
that.
it.
Oh my god, it's
so
just so
interesting.
different than anything I think that I've had recently, because it's malty and it's hoppy and it's balanced in both. It's not like you don't get that bitter aftertaste. It's not like too heavy.
Can I guess yours?
Sure.
Tilted.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one. I honestly, so this baklava brown, I think I'm gonna cook with it tonight. I think I'm gonna braise some things.
We'll take some pictures. And
What I'd really love to do with this is do a lamb wonton, a braised lamb wonton with this. How crazy would that be? Deep fried?
Do I need to arrange for a dog sitter?
maybe you need to stay. We can finish these and our work here is done, so we have the rest of the day hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, I liked a lot of these beers. Like I said, there's a few that I've had, and I point people in that direction. I definitely have a prime directive, if you will, when it comes to beer. Like, I like this style. I'm gonna start there and move my way out. But we hit a lot of different styles today, which I was surprised.
It's interesting to me. The Dark Star, I almost feel like an IPA drinker would actually appreciate it because I do still taste the bitterness. I don't mind because I'm used to chocolate and coffee bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so much used to IPA bitterness, but maybe that would be a good gateway for them to stouts and porters.
There you go. So it's in the starter kit.
It's definitely a bitter stout, don't you feel?
Yeah. It's
If
really
you
good,
like
though.
this, you'll like this.
But I love it. But
I'm more into sweeter stouts, but it was really good. Like, I like the difference between, like, the coffee smell and then, like, it's just really chocolate when you drink it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm excited to try their barrel aged, because it's just gonna, like, that bourbon sweetness.
I'm gonna have to clear my calendar
10%?
for that.
Right.
10+%. Well, I have a number of barrel aged beers cellared, so I am gonna do a Brews Buds like barrel aged episode. So if you are available, let us know.
And we'll need a few more people because those are pretty
Yes,
rough,
they're very.
My sister is down.
There you go.
Well, then that'd be one. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. Is that, and we had this talk with Mark at Two Bandits. There are more females that order stouts and porters because of that distinct flavor profile, rather than they brewed a beer specifically. It was like a fruity summer wheat beer, and they found more men drinking it than women, which was not what they expected, and that's exactly what I expected, because being behind the bar for so long, you see that there is definitely a demographic that everybody shifts to. You're either a light lager drinker, in my opinion, as a woman is either a light lager drinker, or they are coffee stout first. And they like distinct flavors. Like you said, you're not a big peanut butter fan, but there are a lot of people that love that peanut butter. Or the spiciness, like the Violin Monster. Mm-hmm. A lot of women last night were drinking the Violin Monster because it's a really rich, spicy beer. Obviously, a lot of the men last night were heading closer towards the hoppier IPAs, pale ales. We had a few gentlemen come up consistently for Founder's Mosaic Promise. In my opinion, that I told everybody, that is the best Michigan-made pale ale, period. I think, that a Mosaic, exclusively using Mosaic hops, just pronounce that to, I think it's 6.2%. So it's a pretty decent, pale ale. So men and women definitely have their flavor profiles. And when you're out, when you said you ordered your very first IPA on purpose, because you started drinking as a Guinness drinker, you were a stout and porter drinker, and now you've moved to a hoppy wheat lager. You see what I'm saying? It's things are shifting, and
it takes some time.
I'm evolving.
It's happening right in front of us. Babe, you were saying that there's a hidden tap or an untapped market of women. You have nail wraps, beer. Nail wraps, because no one's ever done that before. Well, you go to a website, they may have a couple shirts and their tank tops, or they're something specific for women, but it's not. It's an untapped market. Why isn't half of the website dedicated to
half the people?
More than half.
Yeah. It's true.
You want to do leggings. You want to do. I think the trucker caps are unisex, but there's a lot of stuff that's.
Yeah, definitely.
Because as a guy, I love this style of shirt. I don't want. I'm not gonna wear a lanyard. I'm not gonna carry around a wallet made by something like that. You know what I mean? But there's a whole market there that I think is being missed
Well, and I think Big Lake's doing a good job of that because they're actually kind of focusing on it. And I think a lot of these other companies, especially, you know, this lineup here, you could appeal to women, but you kind of have to try a little bit. And women don't really know, I guess, necessarily, am I going to like this beer? You know, I mean, they just think beer, okay, I've had Budweiser, I don't really care for that. Well, not everything tastes like a lager. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. You'll find something that you enjoy, but...
Well, that's the key. You gotta try. And there's a really, really wide spectrum out there. But
Absolutely.
other than that, any last words?
Well, great job to all the beers here, because I think they all do appeal to that feminine palate a little bit more and help us kind of venture into...
-1, I just had to try it.
Well,
Awesome.
okay, true.
That's my fault.
I think
liked
this
it.
one like appeals to women. I think, you know, some of them just kind of like call us in a little bit more than the others. So.
And I did like the Tilted Earth. I just out of all of them, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's again an IPA, and I'm starting to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It takes us a little bit longer, I think, but only because we're coming from the stout porter side. But you know, I'll come from it for different directions.
Absolutely. We all have to take a different route to get to, you know, what you seek. I mean, we all have the same destination in mind, right? Delicious beer.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many different breweries out there producing delicious beer. In fact, Upside, which I'm really excited to try or open up their Tree City Fog New England IPA. I got the kind of lowdown on their ingredients, so that's one I want to try with the fellas because they're more IPA drinkers, but it's a really juicy one, so maybe you'll have to come back for that one too.
I do. I love the juicy IPAs.
See, so
Me
you're
too,
coming
so,
around.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and that's that was just kegged 2 days ago, so we got that one fresh. So I can't wait to crack that one. I mean, just a lot of places are doing a lot of great things, and really it's something that I ask all the brewers is, you know, why, if you're standing right next to somebody at a retailer, why should they choose your beer? And it's, all of them say virtually the same thing. It's because of the quality and consistency that's coming out of that brewery, which is a really, really tough thing to do that all of these breweries are doing.
It's intention.
Absolutely.
Yeah, their intent. And so.
So, with that being said, cheers everyone from the Draft Specialist, and